take a deep, steadying breath before you allow your mind to process these words, because what follows carries a massive, undeniable weight. This specific message has survived long, agonizing silences, countless sleepless nights, and the crushing gravity of words that someone desperately wanted to speak to you, but never possessed the raw courage to say. Right now, it is bypassing logic and finding you exactly in this moment because a profound, irreversible psychological shift has occurred in the unseen spaces of your connection. Time is running dangerously thin. Your presence here at this exact coordinate in time is completely intentional. Before we uncover the turbulent, chaotic storm your person is currently navigating in the dark, you must hear this truth, and you must let it anchor your spirit. You were not mistaken, you were not crazy, and you were not imagining things. Whatever profound magnetic bond you felt between the two of you was completely and undeniably genuine. You did not invent the intensity to satisfy a longing. You did not construct a fantasy in your mind. The deep connection, the electric resonance, the unspoken understanding, they were entirely real, and how everything ultimately unfolded was absolutely not your fault. Anchor yourself firmly in that truth as you take in the rest of this transmission. Let it wash away the residual self-doubt that has been quietly eroding your peace. Your person has been actively pressing a heavy, exhausting truth for much longer than they would ever possess the humility to confess to you, and far longer than you could ever guess. They did not just wake up one random morning and peacefully decide to let you go. They did not abruptly flip a switch and turn off their emotions. They did not simply move forward with their life the way they have so carefully projected to the outside world. Here is the exact psychological reality of what took place behind their mask. They pushed it down. They deliberately buried feelings they had absolutely no earthly idea how to safely navigate. They encountered intense, overwhelming emotions that their fragile ego was completely unequipped to face. They opted for absolute silence because, to their deeply wounded defense mechanisms, silence seemed significantly less dangerous than making a vulnerable mistake. But unexpressed feelings do not just politely disappear into the ether. They do not magically fade away with the passage of calendar days. Instead, they ferment in the dark shadows of the unconscious mind. They grow sharper, heavier, and more toxic with each passing day until the internal burden becomes far too immense to shoulder alone. That is precisely where your person is sitting right now. They are not tranquil. They are entirely devoid of peace. A sudden, violent psychological shift happened to them recently. Maybe they stumbled upon an old, forgotten memory of you tucked away in their room. Perhaps they caught a stranger saying your name in a crowded place and froze entirely in their tracks as their stomach dropped. Maybe a vivid dream of you felt so intensely real, so palpable, that they woke up gasping in the dark, reaching for someone who was entirely absent. Or maybe life simply grew still enough for their elaborate denial to finally shatter into pieces. Whatever the specific trigger was, it jolted them completely awake. Now they are staring down a reality that absolutely terrifies them. The genuine, paralyzing fear of losing you completely. Not eventually, not down the line in some distant, hypothetical future, but right here in this very moment. This epiphany did not land softly on their consciousness. It struck them deep in the isolation of the night, when all their cheap distractions were gone. It struck when their phone screen felt desolate and cold. It struck when laughing with their friends felt utterly empty and performative. It struck exactly when the surrounding stillness grew deafeningly loud. They recognize it now, and the internal ache is profound. Nobody holds space for them the way you do. Nobody truly hears the nuance in their voice the way you listen. Nobody grasps their core identity without demanding constant, exhausting explanations. No one else ever provided that rare feeling of profound emotional safety without suffocating their need for independence. You were rare. You have always stood out as completely different from the rest of the noise in the world. And your intuition was spot on for trusting what you felt, because the energy was real. Your person is desperate to communicate, but they are completely paralyzed by their own history. They wish they could tell you they should have been honest earlier, when the doors were still wide open. They want to admit they foolishly, arrogantly thought they had endless time to figure it out. They want to confess they never actually believed you would possess the iron strength to walk away from them. They severely underestimated the ultimate price of their silence. Right now, they are absorbing a brutal, inescapable lesson. Choosing to do nothing is still a deliberate action, and that inaction has cost them tremendously. They feel an immense guilt for abandoning you when it counted most. They feel a deep shame for deliberately withholding the reassurance you so clearly craved. They are drowning in a sea of regret for retreating into a freezing silence when honesty was the exact medicine you required. Back then, staying quiet offered them a temporary illusion of safety. Creating physical distance offered a false sense of control over an experience that felt too vast to manage. But dodging reality does not erase reality. It only magnifies the burden. As Carl Jung profoundly observed, one does not attain enlightenment by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Your person has been living out this exact cycle without even realizing it. Fear became their compass. Pride became their voice. Utter silence did all the talking. And now, those exact choices have tracked them down like a shadow. If you are recognizing this painful psychological loop right now, make sure to hit the subscribe button. We explore the deep, hidden architecture of human connection every single day, and you will absolutely need the insights coming in the next chapter of this breakdown. Meanwhile, a quiet but incredibly powerful transformation has been happening entirely within you. You have evolved. They can energetically sense it across the distance. Your energetic signature is completely different than it used to be. Your patience has shifted. The manner in which you respond, or choose not to respond, has radically changed. Even the way you hold your silence is different now. Where your quiet once felt like anxious waiting, it now simply feels like absolute peace. And that serenity terrifies them more than any harsh, angry words you could have ever spoken. They leaned heavily on your patience. They took your quiet kindness completely for granted. They assumed you would permanently remain right there, forever understanding, infinitely forgiving, constantly willing to try one more time. But they never anticipated you reaching the threshold where you quietly, cleanly decided to choose yourself. And now the reality of that boundary is hitting them like a physical blow. You were not wrong for choosing yourself. That act was not selfish. It was pure survival. What they are terrified of losing isn't just your physical presence. It is the unique way you made them feel completely seen in a world full of blind eyes. It is the profound safety they bathed in, but flatly refused to acknowledge aloud. It is the home they discovered within your heart, a home they had absolutely no earthly idea how to maintain. Right, Nate? Now they are agonizing over a single question, and it echoes louder with each passing day. Did I permanently ruin the one thing that actually mattered? That haunting question stalks them everywhere they go. It creeps in when they try to force themselves to sleep. It shadows them when they attempt to move on with new routines. It strikes them every single time they sit across from another person, and immediately sense the glaring, unbridgeable difference. Nobody feels like you do. Nobody ever will. And they know it. Your person is not okay. You need to hear that clearly. They are not okay. They wake in the middle of the night, and the immediate sensation that blankets them is the agonizing weight of your absence. It is not just about missing you. It is the crushing realization that they are the sole reason you are no longer there. As they navigate their daily routine, absolutely everything brings you back to mind. A random place you used to visit together, a specific phrase you always used, a scent that abruptly evokes a buried memory. They try to push it down. They attempt to keep moving, but the body always remembers what the mind tries so desperately to forget. Even when surrounded by a room full of others, they frequently feel completely isolated because nobody else knows them the way you did. No one sees through their walls like you could. No one silences the internal chaos the way your mere presence did. No one feels like you. They recognize this now. They feel it every single day. They are also finally noticing everything they missed when you were close. Your immense strength, your endless patience, your rare capacity to love without demanding constant proof, and your ability to remain soft in a world that demanded hardness. They see the full picture now, and it hits them in relentless, crashing waves. Some days it manifests as profound sadness. Other days, it is a feeling so heavy they cannot even name it. But here is what you must understand. Their current pain does not erase your past pain. Their suffering does not mean you were wrong to step away from the table. You were not wrong. You did exactly what you had to do to survive. And you should never carry a single ounce of guilt for protecting your own light. Take a slow, deep breath. Let that unshakable truth sink into your bones. You were not wrong. They are constantly comparing everyone to you. They fight the urge, but they cannot help it. Every new conversation feels remarkably empty. Every laugh rings hollow. Every new connection feels like a cheap plastic copy of something that was once deeply authentic. And the original was you. They might not speak your name out loud to the world, but they think it constantly. They dwell on your memory far more than they would ever dare confess. Your name reverberates in their mind like a quiet sound that never stops playing. Sometimes it is a gentle whisper. Other times it is so loud it drowns out everything else around them. There is one specific moment they keep returning to. It isn't grand. It isn't dramatic. It is small, quiet, and unguarded. Maybe it was the way you looked at them when no one else was watching. Maybe it was something you said that made them feel truly understood for the very first time in years. Maybe it was the sound of your unfiltered laugh. Maybe it was how your presence made the hardest days instantly feel lighter. That moment lives permanently inside their psyche. Now they carry it everywhere. They know exactly what they had. They remember exactly what it felt like to be near you. And absolutely nothing since has come close. Nothing. But here is something you must absolutely remember. Something you must guard fiercely. You do not owe them your waiting. You do not owe them your sleepless nights. You do not owe them the peace you fought so hard to cultivate in their absence. Their sudden missing of you does not require you to pause your life. Their pain is real, but so is yours, and yours matters just as much. You already gave more than enough. You stayed significantly longer than most would have ever endured. You loved harder than they were ready to receive, and you were not wrong for any of it. But you are also not wrong for choosing to rest now. Your healing does not wait for their timeline. Your life does not pause because they finally feel what you felt all along. Hold on tightly to that truth. They have tried to fill the empty space you left behind. They have kept aggressively busy. They have convinced themselves they are perfectly fine. They have pretended they made the right choice by walking away. But every distraction eventually fades. Every attempt to move forward simply brings them right back to the exact same place. Back to you. You were the one who made them feel something authentic, and they walked away, not because they wanted to, but because they were terrified. Afraid of how deeply they actually felt. Terrified that if they let you all the way in, you would uncover the parts of themselves they are deeply ashamed of. So they chose distance. They chose silence. They chose what felt safe. But safe is not the same as happy. And they are learning that now. Meanwhile, you have been steadily pressing forward. You have been building something new. Something that belongs exclusively to you. A piece of life nobody else handed to you. You forged it yourself through your own pain, and it is yours. Your person can energetically feel this change. They sense it in how you speak and in how you choose not to speak. They feel it in the way you no longer try to prove your worth to anyone. Anger they could handle. Drama they could easily endure. But your peace is something else entirely. It shows that you have fully accepted what needed to be accepted. It shows that you have moved forward quietly, yet powerfully. You stopped chasing. You stopped over-explaining yourself. You stopped shrinking your soul to make them comfortable in their avoidance. You stopped pouring your love into a broken cup that wasn't giving a single drop back. That shift did not happen overnight. It happened slowly, silently, the way real transformation always does. One morning, you woke up and something was different. You were different. You were officially done waiting for someone to give you what you were already giving yourself. You were not wrong for loving them. You were not foolish for believing in their potential. You were not weak for staying as long as you did. You loved with everything you had, and that is never a shameful thing. But loving someone does not mean losing your own identity in the process. And that is exactly what was starting to happen. You were giving so much that there was absolutely nothing left for your own soul. You were carrying two hearts when they weren't even carrying their own. You didn't walk away because you grew cold. You walked away because you finally understood that love should never feel like begging. Love should not feel like an endless audition to prove your basic value. You deserved more than silence, more than half answers, more than being someone's backup plan when their options fail. Finally, you believed that. That is not giving up. That is waking up. That is the bravest kind of love. Loving yourself enough to stop accepting less. Your person feels a door closing right now. Not a loud, dramatic slam. Not a theatrical goodbye, but a quiet, soft, permanent closing. And that is the kind of closing that terrifies people the most, because once it shuts all the way, it rarely opens again. They desperately want to reach out to you. They want to explain. They want to apologize in a way that is real. Not with flimsy excuses, not with the same old recycled words, but with something raw and true. But fear is still keeping them completely paralyzed. Fear constantly whispers to them, what if it is too late? What if they don't care anymore? What if I finally open up my heart and they turn away from me? So they wait. They type out long messages and delete them. They pick up their phone at 2 a.m. and put it right back down. They rehearse intense conversations in their head that never happen in reality. And every single day, their internal panic grows just a little bit more. But while their panic grows, your peace holds firm. And that is everything. You have built a life that does not depend on whether they show up or not. You carry yourself with a quiet strength you didn't possess before, and you built it completely alone. No one rescued you from the trenches. You carried yourself through the fire. They frequently pull up old messages between you, reading paragraphs they never answered, staring at vulnerable questions they callously ignored. Every single message they failed to respond to now feels like a small, sharp wound inside their own chest. Each one represents a moment when you bravely reached out, and they actively chose to hide behind their armor. Meanwhile, the universe has been relentlessly sending them signs. Your name flashes where they least expect it. Songs play on the radio that perfectly carry your memory. They dream about you and wake up with tears they cannot explain. None of these are accidents. The universe does not deal in random chance. Every sign is a cosmic nudge. Every vivid dream is a doorway being held open just a fraction longer. But the universe will not hold that door open forever. Eventually, it steps back and leaves the final choice squarely on them. Your person is standing right at the edge of their own darkness now. The internal warfare is staggering. Their heart desperately wants you, while their fear screams for self-preservation. You left because caring, on its own, was not enough to sustain a foundation. You required more than feelings that lived exclusively in silence. You demanded honesty. You needed safety. You needed a partner to show up, not just with poetic words, but with undeniable action. And they simply weren't giving you that. So, you did the most difficult thing imaginable. You stopped waiting, and you chose your own life. That was not cold. That was not cruel. That remains the bravest thing a person can possibly do. You were never asking for too much. You asked for the absolute basics. The baseline of what every loyal heart deserves. The mere fact that someone is finally recognizing your immense value late in the game does not mean you automatically owe them another chance. You already did the grueling work. Your intrinsic value was never created by their ability to recognize it. You were worth everything when they were drowning you in silence. You were a masterpiece on every single agonizing day that you forced yourself to keep going, even when your chest was breaking. Their sudden panic does not set your healing timeline. Their profound regret does not suddenly author your next step. You are here to honor the beautiful life you have fought so incredibly hard to build. If they ever do gather the courage to reach out, your nervous system will know exactly what to do. You will physically feel if their words are drenched in truth or if they are simply terrified of losing their safety net. Those two energies are worlds apart. The foundation inside your person is currently cracking. The massive fortress they erected to keep you at bay is beginning to fracture. Not because you battered it from the outside, but because the pressure is building from the inside. The sheer volume of love they are holding has literally nowhere left to escape. You cannot build a barricade thick enough to suffocate something deeply real. Authentic love is a force of nature. It disrespects boundaries. It seeps into every microscopic fissure until the dam inevitably bursts. Your person is teetering right on the edge of that breaking point. When that spillover finally happens, it might arrive as an erratic text in the middle of the night. It could be a trembling phone call where they stumble over their sentences, but the raw truth bleeds through their tone. But even when that moment arrives, remember your ultimate power. You still do not owe anyone a response that you are not fully aligned with giving. Your emotional sanctuary is sovereign territory. Nobody is allowed to barter your hard-earned peace just for their moment of truth. You are no longer sitting in the waiting room, hoping for a savior to complete you. You are a complete, entire universe on your own. You are magnificently whole, precisely because you taught yourself how to self-soothe through every agonizing silence they abandoned you in. That level of spiritual alchemy is not something the average person can achieve, but you mastered it. You were never wrong for any chapter of this journey. Not for the depth of your love, not for the patience of your staying, and certainly not for the breathtaking courage of your leaving. If this deep dive into the psychology of unresolved attachment gave you the clarity you have been seeking, I want you to go down to the comments right now and tell me, what was the exact moment you finally decided to stop waiting and choose your own peace? Share your defining moment. Then, please click the video appearing right here on your screen. It breaks down the exact psychological tools you need to protect your energy during this shift, and you will absolutely want to watch it right now. Stay strong, protect your peace, and keep moving forward.